listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. After a cross-country tour with stops in Ottawa, Vancouver, and Saskatoon, the Royal Winnipeg Ballet returns home to present their beloved annual classic, Nutcracker. Joining me this morning is RWB Corps de Ballet member Josh Hidson. Thanks so much for being here, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
First things first, welcome back to town. How was the tour?
It's fantastic, yeah. Like you said, we were in Ottawa, Vancouver, Saskatoon, kind of all over Canada. I was saying to another company member that I don't think I've flown that far within Canada before, like Ottawa to Vancouver. That flight was so long. I was like, I didn't know you could fly like for that long. I think we also sat on the tarmac for about an hour on each end, so maybe not the later end, but
yeah, doing a little bit of stretching on the plane, I would imagine.
For sure. We're all getting up. And
I'm curious, how was the production received on the tour?
It was fantastic. Yeah, I think Nutcracker always does really well. You know, it has that like a special meaning for a lot of people, that Christmas tradition. But this year especially, like, I think every house was like overwhelmingly like sold out to the extent that you couldn't see empty seats, which is always like super exciting. And people loved it. Yeah, I think we got like a standing ovation every single show. It's just such an exciting thing to be a part of. Yeah.
Oh, it certainly is. Like you say, this is one of those kind of quintessential RWB productions. For many, it isn't the Christmas season without Nutcracker. Can you talk more about that? What do you think it is about this particular ballet that makes it such a holiday hallmark?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, for our production of it, I think it is very unique. I also think it's very accessible and exciting to everybody who comes and sees it. You know, like there's really something for everybody in this production. We open with like a fantastic party scene. I mean, we really open with some like hockey, some skating around the stage. Yeah, a little bit of shinny in front of a house that looks like it's somewhere not too far from here, right? Like it feels like Winnipeg. It feels familiar. It does. It feels like a, you know, like, yeah, a Canadian, a Winnipeg setting, really. Speaking of the hockey, this was my first year doing that, like little...
Oh, you got to be out on the
hockey
ice.
Game on the ice, yeah. Rollerblading around the stage. So a little stressful putting that together. I'd never been very great on rollerblades, so you're always kind of nervous you're going to tumble into the orchestra pit, but survived every show so far, so hopefully I think I have 2 more of those here in Winnipeg, so let's make it a year without falling down.
Yeah, keep your stick on the ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you say, a distinctly Canadian take on the Nutcracker, sure. Choreographed by Galina Yordanova. When did you first have the opportunity to perform in Nutcracker?
Well, I mean, first Nutcracker of all goes way back to when I was doing Alberta Ballet Kids Cast, I grew up in Edmonton, so they kind of do Calgary, Edmonton every year. And that was always super exciting. I think I did that for 3 years. Actually, I remember my very first time performing with Alberta Ballet, I was like, I think I did the audition and I got in and I was like so nervous and so distraught. I was like crying afterward, which is kind of the opposite of what you'd expect. You know, you got into this production, you should be excited. But my dad was like, it's going to be great. You know, he kind of was the one who was like encouraging me to audition. And then when I got out of it, I was again like so distraught. And he was like, no, you're going to be great. Got to that first rehearsal, was so nervous going in. And I'm like 9, right? Your responsibility isn't that much at this stage. It shouldn't have been that nervous, but I really was. But as soon as that first rehearsal hit, it was just like magic. And I said this a couple weeks ago, but in another media thing, but I really think like that experience kind of spurred my love for theater and performing, really. Yeah. I remember like going out as a party kid and just the very first thing you do is like I got to run across the stage with like a what is that called? Like a
bow and arrow?
And not a bow and arrow,
You're
but like
gesturing.
I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, like on the radio.
Yeah.
Gesturing on the radio, not the best thing. But you know the thing with the slingshot.
Yeah,
there it is.
We got there.
We got there eventually. But yeah, you get to run across the stage with the slingshot, like shoot your party sister, you know, and just like it's just like so much fun. And just I remember like it was such a big deal every year, rehearsing for 4 hours every Sunday. So I mean, that's kind of how I got my start in the Nutcracker.
And here you are. You joined the company in 2019.
That's right. Yeah.
You made it through some particularly challenging years. The Nutcracker is back. And like you say, one of these shows that just packs the house, no matter where it's taking place, whether it's in Ottawa, Vancouver, Saskatoon, or back here at the Centennial Concert Hall. And just how rewarding that is as a performer to get in front of a packed house and dance, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Now, I'm curious about this. So you talked about your early days as a party kid with your slingshot in hand.
Yes, that's right.
You're out on the ice playing shinny now, but in addition to that, you also get to dance the role of Drosselmeyer this year.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, Drosselmeyer is without a doubt, I think at this point, my favorite role I've done in my career with the company. It was kind of my first, I got to start doing it last year, and it was kind of my first principal role where you get to really make your own choices and kind of be on the stage, not in just like a soloist classical variation capacity, but really where you get to like throughout the ballet, start to finish, you kind of get to like interact with the audience on that major level, which is really exciting. And I think I have too much fun with it sometimes. The other company dancers are like, your energy is like too much right now. Take it down, take it down. But I'm like, no way. It's just like, and I'm just like making different choices every single show. It keeps it fresh, and no show's ever the same. I think that's another exciting thing. Like when you're in the core, you know, it's very, very rigid, very set. You have to be in this line and that line, and not that those sort of cues don't exist, but it's a lot more, there's a lot more you can play with, you know, and sometimes you'll make a choice and be like, oh, that was awesome. Sometimes you make a choice, be like, oh, not going to do that again. But
he really is a character, right? And
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a story behind him. He's, you know, Clara's godfather or uncle, I guess, depending on the production.
Yes, yeah.
And to me, it's funny, you talk about bringing the energy. Well, Drosselmeyer's the guy who really gets the party started.
For sure,
he's the one, the party and the magic, he gets that started as well, because he's the one who gifts Clara the Nutcracker in the first place, right?
Exactly. Well, in our production, like, he really does get the party started. You know, at the beginning, everybody's running around the party scene and where's Drosselmeyer? He's supposed to bring the tree. Where is he? You know, and then he runs in, you know, convincing the whole room that he's forgotten the tree. It's a big tragedy, and then out it comes. You know, it's really, when you say he gets the party started, he does, and it continues right through to the bows of the ballet. It's so much fun.
Now, that party scene has become somewhat iconic in the production for many reasons. I mean, of course, the kids are just fantastic up on the stage. Yeah. It is so much fun. You can tell how much fun the company is having. And as an audience member and as someone who's been up on the stage, I got to walk on last year and experience that. It is truly a party up on the stage.
It is.
And then after that, speaking of kind of like unique aspects of this RWB production, in the second half. The RWB welcomes some guest artists. The Rysalka Ukrainian Dance Ensemble returning. They're an audience favorite. And then this year, for the first time, the Asham Stompers are going to be doing a little bit of jigging.
That's right.
I'm curious, as a dancer, as an RWB member, what's it like seeing other dancers up on the stage doing their thing as they do it?
It's incredibly exciting. I think that's something really special about doing the production here in Winnipeg as opposed to on tour. On tour, we don't usually get to have guest artists in that capacity. We have, you know, kids from every city partaking, which is a different element, also very exciting. But Rysalka and the Asham Stompers, I think, are going to bring so much energy and excitement to the audience. I mean, Rysalka always does. All the company dancers, you know, we're doing this whole show, and like we get off stage and Rysalka comes on and the audience just lights up. I think they just like bring an entirely new and exciting energy to the second act, and people just love it, which I don't blame them. We're in the wings hollering and hooting and just like having like a fantastic time, but there's a little bit of jealousy there too. It's like, geez, I just did this variation, and it's like, you guys just like, the audience loves it. And I really think it's just like, Ukrainian dance is so loved here in Winnipeg, and it is so, there's something inherently so exciting about it when you watch it. And I mean, I grew up in Edmonton. The Shunka dancers are huge there, right? And yeah, definitely. And I have so many friends who are still part of the company there. It's just so exciting. We love it.
That it certainly is. And I mean, look, as a Rysalka alumni, it just warms my heart to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Because as someone who's also danced it and come on, it is just so much fun. And you can feed off that audience's excitement and the dancers' excitement. You can feel it on stage. And I'm so excited for the Asham Stompers, who have a similar opportunity to do exactly that, showcasing some jigging up on the grand stage.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you one more thing. I mean, we're a classical music radio station. I've got to ask you about the music. It's
Please.
Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
What's it like dancing to Tchaik?
I mean, iconic, right? Everybody knows. Honestly, I don't think people realize how much of the music they hear, let's say in the mall or in the background of their favorite Christmas movie, is the music from the Nutcracker. You know, the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, and then Waltz of the Flowers, the March from the Party Scene, the Snow Pas de Deux, the Grand Pas de Deux. Like these pieces are so iconic, and it's pretty magical. I was speaking with you a little bit before we went on air just about the harp in the second act and how magical and chocolatey you described it as. It's just it's amazing when you're up on stage, and And you know what? Something I really appreciate about having live music is I made this realization when we were on tour this year is we rehearse the recording usually, the same recording we'll usually use in cities where we don't have an orchestra joining us. But in Ottawa, we have the beautiful NAC and here the symphony. And I was backstage in Ottawa listening to the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy and how it starts with just that like doom, 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 doom. And it's so warm. The sound is so warm when it's live, and it just has this like energy to it. And I think on the recording it can get a little bit like metallic almost, but live it's so warm, and that difference is just incredible. And it's really something you have to be there and feel, because I don't think, like I said, this is my 5th year in the company, and I was just noticing it this year. I'm like, wow, that's and it just makes you like sit back and just like close your eyes and wow, there's 50-some, 60-some musicians right now and down in the pit like playing this, and we're so lucky to have live music.
Yeah, that artistic partnership between RWB and the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, led by Maestro Julian Pelicano, we are just so fortunate to have that here in Winnipeg. Yeah. The Tchaikovsky score, absolutely marvelous. This whole production is a favorite for a reason. Josh, I want to thank you so much for being here this morning. And this is a good opportunity to remind listeners that the RWB's Nutcracker runs tomorrow, Thursday, December 21st, through Saturday, December 30th, with a break on the 24th and 25th. For tickets and details, visit rwb.org. We've also got details up at classic107.com under the events tab. And speaking of harp, we're going to hear a little snippet from Act 2. Some wonderful music of Tchaikovsky. Josh, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.